China's Navy just made headlines with its new aircraft carrier, the Fujian. In late September 2025, videos showed it using advanced electromagnetic catapults to launch stealth fighters like the J-35 and other aircraft for the first time. This puts China on par with the US in CATOBAR carrier tech, allowing planes to take off with more weapons and fuel, critical for long-range missions and heavy strike packages. But while Beijing celebrates, India is left wondering why its own plans for a similar carrier are stuck, and many point fingers at broken promises from the United States. India's Navy runs two carriers today, the aging INS Vikramaditya and the indigenous INS Vikrant. Both operate on the STOBAR model, using ski jump ramps to launch jets. That system limits how much weight the aircraft can carry, hurting their range, payload, and overall combat effectiveness. For years, India has dreamed of a third carrier, called IAC-2, a 65,000-ton CATOBAR ship with electromagnetic catapults like those used by the US Navy. But that dream is fading fast, partly because the US never came through on sharing the key tech, Electromagnetic Aircraft Launch System, or EMALS. As China speeds ahead, India's fleet risks looking outdated, raising serious concerns about protecting its coasts and trade routes in the Indian Ocean. The real story here is what feels like a US betrayal. Back in 2015, India and the US launched a partnership called the Defense Technology and Trade Initiative, or DTTI. They agreed to collaborate on carrier technology, including a feasibility study for India's future CATOBAR ship equipped with EMALS. EMALS is a US-developed system that uses magnetic force to launch aircraft, faster, smoother, and more energy-efficient than legacy steam catapults. In 2017, the US even signaled its willingness to sell EMALS to India. It seemed like a strategic win-win. India would gain a technological edge against China, and the US would deepen its alliance with a rising power in Asia. But 10 years later, nothing. Talks in forums like the Joint Working Group on Aircraft Carrier Technology keep happening, like one in May 2025. But they end with empty communiques and no real deals. Why? The US treats EMALS like a crown jewel. It faced reliability issues early on, and American defense firms want top dollar for it, which strains India's budget. Add to that the red tape, tight export controls and bureaucratic hurdles, and the deal keeps slipping. Some say the US is playing both sides, hyping India as a counterweight to China while withholding the very tech that would make that role credible. The fallout. India's Navy is falling behind. China now has 3 carriers, with Fujian nearing full operational status. India's next carrier might skip CATOBAR altogether and opt for a simpler design, possibly teaming with UK firms for electric propulsion. That means slower progress in a region full of threats, from border skirmishes to contested sea lanes. In a real conflict, India's jets might not fly as far or hit as hard, putting lives and strategic assets at risk. This breakdown in trust casts a shadow over the US-India defense relationship. Leaders continue to talk big, aiming for $500 billion in trade by 2030 and expanding joint exercises. But without meaningful tech sharing, it feels hollow. India risks being treated as a buyer, not a true partner. Even the Quad, US, India, Japan, Australia, looks weaker when one member holds back. India can't afford to wait forever. It must double down on building its own capabilities through programs like Atmanirbhar Bharat. DRDO is already working on indigenous catapult systems, and recent Rafale-M deals show momentum. India should also look to other partners, France for nuclear propulsion, Russia for legacy cooperation, and it must push the US harder, link future purchases to real tech transfers, or walk away from lopsided arrangements. China's carrier breakthrough is a wake-up call, but the deeper lesson is about alliances. The US has failed to deliver, leaving India's Navy in a vulnerable position. To catch up, India must chart its own course. The seas are shifting, and waiting on promises won't keep the nation safe.